Hey everybody, welcome to Making Sense of It All. As part of our series, Professional at Anything But Golf, I have a guest on today that owns CrossFit Jack's Beach and CrossFit Duval. He's been a guest where we talked about his business a little bit. Now he's going to lend some expertise around fitness in the sport of golf. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Justin Henderson. Justin, thank you so much for joining me.
What's up, Jesse? Glad to be here, man. Glad we could do it again. It's always
Absolutely.
fun to talk and, get on these things and try and throw some people some words about things.
Nice. I also have my co-host, Wes Altus. He's the Director of Instruction at Top Golf Jacksonville. Wes, thanks again for being a part of this.
Always great to be back on, Justin. And this is going to be another great one with some good insights about your body and how that relates to golf. It's going to be a good one.
Absolutely. And it's funny when we first started talking about doing this, a lot of it goes around, you start thinking about equipment, or you start thinking about how do you get better, or what's the right things to play. But really, as we started getting started with this, I thought, one of the first things that we had to attack was fitness, and talking about people and where they're at with their bodies, also where they're at with their mind. And so I thought, Justin is someone that we've both played golf with. He's a friend of ours, and his whole business is designed around functional fitness for life. So, just high level, Justin, if you were to kind of, talk about CrossFit and kind of how it applies to golf, or I guess anything where you have an athletic motion, off the cuff, tell me your thoughts on it.
Yeah. So, you take CrossFit, you take fitness, like our brand of fitness and CrossFit and what we do and how it's going to apply to your life and golf and anything else, right? We're going to move your body through space. We're going to do functional movements, right? We're going to pick stuff up. We're going to put stuff down. We're going to sit down. We're going to stand up. We're going to move our body through space. We're going to move external load through space, but we're going to also do, big thing we like to talk about is full range of motion, right? And, can I do a full squat? Can I get my arm over my head, right? Can I turn my hips? Can I do these things, repeatable in the gym setting? And then we translate that to sport, to golf, to whatever, where you need that full range of motion. You need that ability to move and do things. It helps tremendously. And then not even that, but we're also going to help keep you in shape to it a little bit, so you can actually physically get around 18 holes of golf and you're not exhausted by hole 8 and then wonder why your back nine sucks so bad every time. It's because you're tired.
Right. Well, we were just talking before we hit the record button about, just the guy or the woman who's sitting in their desk, and, they might be 40, 50 years old at this point in time, but they still see themselves as that 20-something-year-old or that teenager that was athletic, and that they had full range of motion in their body. Wes, I'm sure you see it all the time where people come in, they have this kind of disjointed view of themselves, of what they used to be and what they currently are. Yes?
Yeah, 100%. We'll get the people coming in. They're like, yeah, I'm just taking back golf up after 20 years. Then you get in, what'd you do? Well, I was an accountant. I'm like, oh, so you sat down last 20, 30 years. Like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So you're not going to hit the ball as far as you did 20 years ago, just because, one, you're 20 years older and you've had your, muscles just kind of in this hunched over position where everything's getting tight. You're not going to have the same range of motion you did 20 years ago if you've done nothing. So see that all the time coming in and out of here, and, getting, their range of motion and being able to move their body through, their range of motion that they can with not causing an injury. Obviously, if they want to start hitting the ball further, that kind of stuff needs to be addressed a little bit via fitness.
So if you're going to start somewhere, you got to start with your body.
I think you have to be realistic about it too. Like, hey, I know you got to know that your body can, put brakes on yourself being able to swing the ball fast or swing the club faster.
And like Wes, add to that too, and I'm sure you see it come in too, it's not always just strength, right? We do a lot of strength movements in the gym. We do a lot of things. That same accountant sits at his desk for 30 years. He's probably still has plenty of physical strength to do things. And if he had any, depending on what it is before, but you just get to where you can't move, right? And like, if you can't move, you can't do things. Like if, think about the parent who's, at the pool with their kid and, 10 minutes in, they're tired, right? They don't want to play the pool. They can't chase after their kid playing ball or whatever. Then you go take that same person and think that walks out on the golf course and thinks, well, I can still play golf, right? And it's like, well, you just can't play very well, right? Because you no longer have the capacity and the ability to do these things, but your brain kind of tells you, I did this when I was 20. Well, you're 50 now, right? And you're no longer, a lot of things have changed and you haven't kept up with it, right? We can turn a lot of that back and we can get you back there, but it's going to take some work.
So I guess that's kind of, where you start. Like when you have someone who comes in and they're kind of expressing, hey, I'd like to, improve my fitness, and they kind of give you, say, hey, this is the reason why. And if they, whether it's golf or anything that they're looking to do athletic, I mean, pickleball is huge today in today's world too, where people have,
Yeah.
kind of had a new, kind of energized around, something that's a little bit of a miniature version of tennis, and they think that, okay, I can compete at this again, I can do something fun again. But it's like, when you see those people come in, like, where do you start with them?
The first place I start with everyone, say we get past like, hey, we're doing this, right? But the first biggest thing we always talk to people about, and I always try to emphasize this to people coming to the gym, the single hardest thing to do in the gym that I try to get everybody to commit to and do is walk through the door. Continually walk through the door, right? That's the front door is the hardest freaking thing in the gym. Nothing you do in the gym is even close to that. If you can get yourself to come to the gym 3-4 days a week for a month, for 2 months, for 3 months, make it a habit that you're doing this for 6 months, you'll do it forever. And it's not that hard. Like, don't let the fear of, I can't do this, it's too hard, it's whatever, don't let that get in the way. Just, hey, can I open a door?
Yeah.
Hey, we're here. We'll get you fit by accident, right?
Exactly.
At the end of the day, you show up, we'll make it fun, we'll do whatever we need to do. You'll get better just being here.
Well, and I can speak to it. I've been in your gym. I mean, you got a huge sense of community too. I mean, there's a lot of, like, once you're there, like, I mean, you meet people, you become, you make fast friends. You have like, it feels like you have a reason to come back. Once you step through the door, you start creating a reason why, and some accountability too, because people start asking, hey, where's Jesse? Or, hey, where's Wes, or whoever it is. Or, people start, not only do you hold yourself accountable, or do you have that guilt feeling if you don't walk back through the door, you're going to have somebody else that maybe picks up the phone and calls you and say, hey, I didn't see you this week.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a community to check on you, right? And all of that goes into it. I try to, it's like, it's got to be a decision for yourself first and foremost, right? Like, hey, can I go do this? Having a gym buddy, having partners is always great. But a lot of times if you start out with a gym buddy, then say Jesse, you and Wes are gym buddies. You're like, hey, we're going to go to the gym together. Let's go to the gym together. What happens the first day Wes calls, like, hey, man, I got stuck at work, I can't go. And you're
Right.
like, well, Wes can't go today, I'm not going to go today.
Yep.
And tomorrow, Jesse, I got a dinner plans, man, I can't go. And then before you know, it's been 2 weeks and you haven't been in the gym in a month, right? Because if the other person wasn't there, you weren't going, right? So, make it a personal decision. You do it, and then the community around is going to help. But like, learn other people. There's a whole lot of psychology there.
So Wes, let me ask you this then. So, like, you get a person who comes in who's interested in improving their golf game, and the first time that you see them, you see them swing a club, they take a lesson with you, and then all of a sudden you're like, before we ever tackle anything from the golf side, that they have to improve their fitness. How do you broach that subject? How do you approach that with the person who's looking to improve their game, but they may not even have thought, part of this is going to be going into the gym and actually improving my fitness.
Yeah, and that's kind of part of the whole, pre-interview process with me. Just kind of find out just a couple things, what they do for a living. That gives me some insight, and how long it's been since they've played. You can kind of just look at people, be honest with you, and see what's kind of tight, what's not, especially the people who have been sitting down a lot. And, it's one of those things, and we need to know how much time they have to commit. So is this, you only got an hour for a lesson in practice? And, it really depends on the student in front of me, but I'm always suggesting, hey, if you want to hit these specific goals, you keep talking about, you need to hit the ball further, this and stuff. I can get you so far with swing mechanics, but your body's going to be the ultimate limiter if you really want to get to your next level. Now, if it's something that someone's just like, hey, I just need to hit the ball 5 yards further, you just clean that up with impact and they'll be good. But they still run the risk of later down the line, injuries popping up, them not even be able to go as long on the golf course as they should. So it's definitely one of those things. It's very case by case, but if they're really looking at really jumping up to the next level, going and getting their body right is part of that, piece of the pie. It's swing mechanics are super important, but if the body can't function, or if it's painful, they're not going to end up being able to do the moves that we need to do to make them improve.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I mean, I can speak from my own personal experience. I am a professional who sits at a desk a lot, and there are times where I am more sedentary than others. And I absolutely not only feel it when I go on a golf course, but I actually see it. I mean, I can tell I'm a, you know, I might be a half a club shorter. I might be a full club shorter sometimes if it's been a month since I've been on a golf course. I haven't been able to swing a club. And conversely, not saying, and you know, I know Justin doesn't get to play that much golf. He's a small business owner. You have a lot of responsibilities yourself. You also have a family, so you don't get out on the golf course too much. But one of the things that always impresses me when I do play golf with you is that you don't seem to lose very much distance or speed when you haven't been able to play golf much. And I really do think that that's a huge. I attribute that to the fact that you're in the gym constantly, you're constantly moving, and you're a physically fit person.
Yeah, I mean, playing golf, I feel like as long as, like I say, don't get to play near as much as I'd like to, but as
Sure.
long as, as long as my contact, squaring it up like I should, I haven't I mean, I'm 42 years old now. I hit the ball every bit as far as I did when I was 18, 20, 25, right? Like I've lost zero distance. If anything, honestly, if anything, I've gained distance. Um, it hasn't, cleaned up the swing. It's gotten better. Mechanics are half decent, but the reality is like the training we do, this kind of movements we do, they lend itself to hitting a golf ball. Like in CrossFit, one of the core tenets of CrossFit is we do what you would call a core to extremity movement, right? A lot of weightlifting, different things is we're developing strength that starts in the core and moves out to our extremities, right? Depending on what that may be. When you think about a golf swing, where does a golf swing originate, right? It originates in the legs and the hips and it moves out to the club and, into your extremity. So it's a lot of the same thing, right? You're generating rotational force through your hands. But if you're just thinking about throwing a club at the ball, right, it's not going to hit the ball very far, right? You got
Right.
to be driving through your legs. You got to be driving through the hips. Shoulder turn's got to be where it's got to be, right? Then you need to have the core strength to be able to make that movement happen. Range of motion, timing, all those things got to come into place. And if you're never doing those things, it's hard to keep that going. If you're constantly staying fit and you're doing these things on a regular basis, whether it's swinging a golf club or not, right? You're still going to have the basic ability to do these things better,
Sure. No doubt. Um,
without even specifically training golf swings. We have plenty of people who play golf and don't play golf or picked it up late in life, picked it up in their 40s. People have been training and they get step out on the golf course and they're crushing. They haven't lost a bit, 55, 58, 60 years old. They're still, I mean, I'll go play golf with them. They're still hitting the ball as far as me. And I don't hit the ball quite as far as Wes does every time, occasionally. And, but here and there, that way, they'll hit it out near my drive and it's like, damn, dude, that ain't bad for 60. Like,
Yeah.
you're still hitting the ball pretty good. So, and they're not doing anything like, we don't do like hyper specific golf training necessarily, but just in the general fitness we're doing and everything we do, it lends itself super helpful to like your golf swing.
Wes, anything to add there?
Yeah, I think, the main thing is you just got to keep moving if you want to kind of get better at golf. You know, I kind of cringe a little bit when I say, hey, you have to do a golf specific exercise. I think if you just exercise and get your body firing and moving, the golf specific stuff to me personally is once you're kind of fairly fit and you're taking golf seriously, then kind of seeing where you have some specific limitations for yourself. Maybe it's just left hip internal rotation. There's some specific exercises, and it just gets labeled as golf. It's just like it's just a corrective exercise. It's just a good way to sell a program, in my opinion. But anyone that knows the function of the body can probably pick that out for you and get you moving in the right direction. But I feel like, hey, just work out and you're going to see the gains right away.
And the reality is like tack on to Wes saying, first of all, I thought Wes 100% there was going to be like, hey, my first thought is he's never hit the ball farther than me. And my second thought is, but no, like, you take the nth degree of the population, right? The pro level golfer, right? If you start there, what the fitness modalities and the fitness training they're going to do and the corrective stuff and the minute changes they can make in their swing based off their gym routine are going to be different, right? If I take the other 99% of people, general fitness is going to be head and shoulders probably above what they're doing to begin with. So it's
Yeah.
going to make massive increases right out of the gate, right? Don't worry about what you see Roy McIlroy doing because he's over here. He's already way ahead of you. Don't worry about him.
Yep.
Think about what everyone else is doing. That's where you're going to find your best.
Yeah, and a
And
guy
it's just
like
general stuff.
Rory, he's kind of earned the right to do those other
Yeah.
exercises too. You can't take a guy who's sitting down and start doing some of the golf specific exercises Rory does. You haven't earned that right yet to move like that. So I think that's a great point right there.
Yeah. I mean, it looks cool to like stand on a Bosu ball upside down with one foot and swing a lacrosse ball and bounce it off a wall and catch it with your eyes closed. Right. It looks cool and it might help, but the reality is, can you stand up and sit down from that chair without using your hands to push off it?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yep.
Can you do two push-ups that are, you know, like, it's very simple, very easy stuff. Can you walk around the block without being winded?
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if you know this, but in golf, you got to be on your feet a lot and you need to be able to walk around the golf course.
100%.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and it's like
and
I was out in Vegas 2 weeks ago, and it was 116 degrees, and it's good luck finishing 18 holes if you don't at least have some level of fitness. If you're completely out of shape, you're going to be exhausted by the time you're done.
and you're flat out just not going to enjoy it.
Right.
Right.
And like we were talking about a little bit before, I mean, if you think about fitness and you think about golf was always kind of like the working man's game, right? The businessman's game, the lazy kind of, hey, we're, a bunch of middle-aged guys on the golf course. And that went straight to even the pro level. 30 years ago, you look at guys on the tour, was it Phil Mickelson, even back in the day, was a big, hefty guy. And you had a bunch of hefty guys, and guys were out of shape, and it didn't matter. They were in golf shape, right? They could get around a golf course and they could still still whoop all of us, right? They played amazing golf.
Right.
But the reality is, Tiger was probably on the front end of that, but you got guys coming in, all of a sudden they started getting in shape and they started taking fitness seriously, nutrition seriously, rest and recovery seriously. And they put all these things together and all of a sudden, hey, we're hitting the ball farther, we're hitting it straighter, we're hitting it, with more power. We can do different things with a swing that we couldn't do before. We can play longer in our career and still be able to generate the same, efficiency with the golf swing that you could earlier on in your career. I mean, think about golf back in the day. Once you hit 40, you're kind of done.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, how many guys on tour right now are in their 40s hitting the ball just, it's not like, hey, I'm 45, I can't hit the ball like the 25. They all can. Mm-hmm. Right. It doesn't, they get a certain age and they just, I think a lot of it, the 50-year-old playing golf with the 25-year-old, I think a lot of that at the professional levels, by the time they hit 50, and nobody talks about this too much.
At 50 years old, the tour players, right? A lot of their limitations start coming in from external factors, not just their bodies, right? Their bodies are still capable of going and playing 72 holes on the weekend, no problem. But now they have family, they have a wife, they have children, they have 3 divorces, they have court battles, they have 7 golf courses they're building, they have investments in wine companies and tequila companies, and the focus just isn't there as much, right? As it was when they're 25 years old and they got no responsibilities and nothing, and they can just grind and grind and grind and grind and grind, right? That plays a big factor in that. Like the age, I think, also on tours, why guys tend to decline a little later in life.
No, I think that's a very fair point. I think that's life. I think that's part of acceptance as well, as far as, especially when you're talking about that person who's a 30 to 60-year-old professional who's wanting to, play at the highest level that they possibly can with their golf game, or they're wanting to compete with their buddies, they're wanting to do any of these things. I think some of it is, there is a level of acceptance of saying, okay, I'm juggling 17 different things. And so to go out and expect to play the absolute best game of golf that I ever have in my life, maybe I'm asking too much of myself. Maybe like there is an acceptance level of how much improvement that I can do depending on the amount of work that I'm putting into it.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you wouldn't expect your car to keep driving perfectly when it's 40 years old and you've never done anything to it other than put gas into it, right?
Yeah.
That's what, human body, we feed it. But, we don't change the oil, we don't check the brakes, we don't, change the tires, we don't, check the steering, we don't check the foot, we don't do any of this stuff. Why would we expect the car at 40 years old to still work the same way?
Yeah, no doubt. I'll tell you, one of the biggest things that made me think about, and asking you to do this episode as well is the fact that during the Players Championship in Jacksonville, Florida, you guys had Scott Stallings and his training team come in and kind of work with you guys, do a little bit of a takeover of the gym, and kind of share some of their stuff as far as CrossFit and how it actually directly interacts with golf and with golf movements. And I thought it was really cool just because it was eye-opening to say, okay, this is, if you're taking a modality of training and you're saying that this, that it fits golf, to me, I was like, you know what, there's really not a whole lot that I would say that fits better. than something that is really focused on functional movements in the body. So I thought that was really cool. It was eye-opening for me.
Yeah, it was cool to have those guys come out. And, Scott's part of a program called HWPO. And essentially they have like a golf track of programming, right? And essentially all it is CrossFit with a golf mindset. So it's an hour long class or workout, and they kind of frame it around some of the movements that, would be a little more golf related versus just general fitness related. The reality is what we did in that group versus what we do, Monday through Friday,
Right.
365 days a week, there's not that big of a degree of difference. And what is cool to see, like, hey, we're doing this stuff anyway, they're doing this stuff. It's kind of all the same, just finding what it is. And yeah, you can tweak some stuff. I think we did a little more rotational stuff, like deliberate rotational stuff, a little more, some shoulder stability stuff. And also some of that stuff we did it was a little more geared towards new person.
Right.
Right. Hey, let's try this movement. I got to, we don't know who all we're going to have here. Let's base this. Anybody could walk in off the street and do this today. Right. Same with like, golf, Wes, like you get somebody new. It's like, sometimes there's limiting factors for what you can teach. Right. Yep. If you've been working with somebody for a year, what we're going to work on is going to be different than what necessarily someone working on a day. They don't have the understanding and the foundations and the concepts of what we're going to work on. Right. So say like a year later, instead of like, hey, I'm doing this with a band, I can now take a dumbbell and do a dumbbell snatch, right? And I can pull that overhead. Now I can add external load. I can make it a little heavier. I'm having to use more stabilizer joints in the shoulder to get that overhead. I now have to press. I got to work it through different things. I'm using back. I'm using a whole lot. I'm having to generate power from a lot more areas than just.
So yeah, and not to name names or not to call people out, but can you think of anybody who'd be like kind of a success story or somebody that you have worked with, trained that has that has a direct application to their golf game and how it's improved it?
Yeah, I mean, one guy comes to mind, right off the bat. Some of it's fair, some of it's not fair. I've been training this guy for 12 years, 15 years.
Right.
And he's been over the years, his degree of focus on the gym, it's steady. It's always there, but sometimes it's twice a week, sometimes it's once a week, sometimes he goes hunting for 3 months, who knows? And disappears to a cabin in the woods and does his Unabomber things. But he's around, and he's just, it's cool though, because he just started picking up golf, in his late 40s. And the last couple of years of picking up golf, and he's down to, he's a single digit handicap now. And a lot of that, we can talk about it, and a lot of that's based off where his fitness level is and what he's been able to maintain, as he's gotten older. I've been training him since he was probably 37 years old. And now he's upper 40s somewhere. And still moves great, still in great shape, has perfect range of motion, and because he keeps after it, he keeps doing things. And I know he doesn't do anything fitness-wise when he's not here, so he does it here. And he's not like, he comes in the gym and he's not like a guy you're going to be like, oh my God, this guy's the most amazing gym athlete I've ever seen.
Right.
But he's consistent, he works out, and he does things. And it's not, you don't got to be a Hulk in the gym to be great on the golf course, right? Or to be average on the golf course. We're looking for small changes in your lifestyle and how you do things, and drop a couple pounds, right? Can we touch our toes without three dips to get? Do we got to warm up to touch our toes, or can we just reach down there and do it? Think about the amount of guys that go to read a putt and can't squat down enough to read a putt, right? And they just stand there and look at it because that's all we got today. Okay, different things like that. Time, got to work through it. Don't let the clock get you.
No doubt. All right. So if people are listening to this and they're, that guy who's been banging away, who's been trying to improve at the game, and they really haven't thought about their fitness, and maybe this is something that has helped clue them in, and, they'd like to learn more, they'd like to potentially come over to CrossFit Jack's Beach or CrossFit Duval, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Best way to get a hold of us, go to www.crossfitjacksbeach.com or www.crossfitduval.com. Hit on one of the links. It all leads to me. And we'll have a conversation. We'll see what's going on for you, and then we'll make the best plan for you. We like what we do. It's not for everybody. But I think it can work for the masses, and as long as you're willing to put in a little bit of work.
Justin, I want to thank you for joining me. I thought it was great. I learned, it's just like anything else. I think it's you throw out ideas, you give somebody a concept and let them think about it, and they can figure out whether it's for them or not. But I think that the best way to do it is to try it. Get in the gym, see if it's something that sticks with you, see if it's something that you can get excited and passionate about, and we'll make sure that everybody has links and has access to you so that they can contact you if they need to.
Perfect. Awesome, guys. Thanks. Enjoy it.
Wes, thanks for joining.
As always, pleasure.